welcome to the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed those little cinematics there. As you can see, we are going to be making a story, and this is chapter 1, as you can tell from the beginning. It's going to be a story centered around this guy that we'll get to in a bit, but right now we're just going to be building his town, his home that he's leaving from. I'm just going to make a really sketchy sketch there. As you can see, I am no artist, but I can put something on paper, so I did, and I'm now putting it together with hot glue and foam core board. The hot glue holds things extremely well. I was shaking it around here and it was not moving at all. Then I went on to the painful step of just shredding up XPS foam, cutting it up, making little bricks, rocks, more rocks, not bricks, and then using PVA glue and slapping it on the foam core board, and these are going to act as our rocks. This takes a bit of time, but it's worth it. I like this way of making rocks. There's other ways, but I enjoy this way. So as crafters and people who make things, I think sometimes we have the ability to overthink things, and we try to figure out the perfect material for something. But right here we're literally using mortar for the rocks because they use that in real life and it does the exact same job. Don't overthink things. Keep it simple, silly. It's not rocket appliances. So here we are just cutting out windows. Nothing fancy. Slapping them out. And then we're gonna prime it black. You could have used a floral spray paint for this or something a little easier, but I'm a cheap boy, so I didn't. And here we get into the fun part. We're getting some balsa wood out. And for all you fun factors out there, you can fun fact everybody at American Thanksgiving when it's coming up here if you watch this video before then, but balsa wood is the softest wood ever measured on the Jenga hardness test. Now if you don't know what the Jenga hardness test is, you're missing out, because it is what they use to measure the hardness for hardwood flooring. And yeah, pretty cool. So impress your family this American Thanksgiving. You know, if you watch it after, maybe Christmas, but you're gonna be the cat's meow. And so here we got accelerator, and we're just super gluing these pieces of balsa on. Nothing special. And we're gonna go around, measure up, cut them up, and put a bunch of pieces on. I don't have a structural engineering degree, so it is what it is. We're using some other balsa wood, some 1/16, and we're gonna use this as some planks for our upper sections. The lower section, of course, for foundation purposes has to be stone, but this is just gonna be wooden planks, and you can see I slapped those in there. And now we're gonna take, again, this is a real life thing. It's nothing special. It's called 20 compound. It's plaster, mud, it's stuff you put on your walls. We're mixing it up, and we're going to use it as the white parts that you see on those buildings. I honestly, I'm not sure, to be honest, what they're made of in real life, but I think it's something similar. We're going to take that and just spread it out, make it look nice. We're going to move to the roof, and so I'm measuring out a little kind of lapboard thing, some sheathing for the front edge, just to have a bit of an overhang, kind of like the buildings are looming larger than they are. And if you guys are finding value and entertainment in this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. It will help me out a ton. I'm trying to grow the channel right now. And for context, obviously you could see that it said chapter 1 at the beginning. The plan for this diorama and the ones coming after is that they're all going to be part of a story, a continuous story. So this is obviously chapter 1, but I plan on making many more chapters. And if you guys want to see that, again, hit that subscribe button, because these will be coming out. The whole story is going to be centering around this character, this character called a tinker. And what is a tinker, you might ask? Well, I don't think there's really a definition on the internet. It said something about a guy who like sharpens tools or works with metal or something, but from stories and from things I've read, that is not what a tinker is. And to me, this tinker is going to basically be kind of like a merchant, kind of this guy that goes around and collects things. And so he's going to be going through these cities and towns and kingdoms and who knows what. I have a million ideas. He's going to be doing that. He's going to be collecting things on the way, and he's always going to be experiencing something different. The first goal here is going to be to try to get to 1,000 subscribers, because if we get to 1,000 subscribers, I think we'll be at a good number where there's a bit of a following, and potentially opening a Patreon or something, so then we can get polls and we can get discussion together, and we can really form a story around this tinker character. And I'm hoping that you guys are going to want to do this, because I think it'll be cooler to work with my viewers, people who enjoy this content, and see what their ideas are for the world. And again, we'll do polls and we'll see what towns, places, kingdoms this tinker might go to next. Whatever, naming characters, things in the in these stories, it's gonna need to be done. And again, I think we are better as a team and better together, so that is the plan. And yeah, as you can see here, this was all done out of actual wood, so this took a while, but this type of shingling, in my opinion, is better looking than any other. Yeah, there's a few other alternatives, and obviously they save a lot of time, but there's really no comparison to actual wood or shingles. And you might have noticed there's some other things attached on there. This was actually a bit of a gong show. I ran out of balsa about midway through. Then I basically just continued with the build and went to the hobby store, picked up more, and finished up the shingling. So I put all the clips together in order, but you may have noticed that other things have been added by this point. Also, to the very, very vigilant observer, you may have noticed that my hot glue gun changed. I also ran out of big hot glue sticks. As you can see, it's switching back and forth there. Make sure you are fully stashed on your glue sticks, because it is a pain to run out. And that little blue one is a low thermal one, and you'll notice with the low thermal, what am I, a scientist? The low heat one, you'll notice that the wisps that you get are a lot more. At least I noticed that, and it's just so much more of a pain. They get over everywhere, and I had to keep removing those wisps from everything. It's like cobwebs. So the high heat ones are better, but again, I had to do what I had to do. Just putting on the ridge caps, and you're basically just splitting them in half here, and then just kind of butting them up to each other, if that makes sense. You can kind of see that there. We're going back to this part. This is kind of annoying, but the first set of plaster stuff that I put in just wasn't thick enough, and it's got to be thick. It looks better that way. When it's set in, it doesn't really look right. Now is painting. I honestly, I could not tell you what I painted each thing with. It was just washes and inks and paints, and they were thinned down and combined. And to be honest, that's kind of how I want it to look, because again, we're going after a grimy town here, and nothing is perfect in a grimy town. Forging our hero. We are literally going to go into Hero Forge, as you can see here. I will link this in the description if you've never seen it or heard of it before. It's a pretty sweet place to make custom miniatures. And as you can tell, we are making our custom Tinker miniature. The problem was, my idea was for this guy that he's going to be carrying a cart, as you saw at the beginning of the video. The problem was, I didn't really know the exact dimensions of the cart, and figuring out how, like, just finding a pose in general and then adjusting his wrists and everything, it was a gong show. But anyways, we got the STL, printed it out, as you can see on my Anycubic Mono 4K. I'll link that down in the description too. But we printed that guy out in a few different scales, as you saw there too, and I picked the one I like the most. This is approximately 28 to 32 mil scale too, if anybody's wondering. I just like that scale. I think you can catch a lot of detail and it just looks cool. Now we are going to paint the shingles. As you saw, weathered oak stain gives it a gray look, and then we are going to wash it, and again you just saw more painting there. Coming together now, you can see I painted the rocks. I am putting on the finishing touches of the railing here with some accelerator and super glue, and I'm just working through the process now. Again, I'm not going over every little single detail, but here's a little cool one. I made these little shutters and I slapped them onto that little middle building there, as you'll see in 2 seconds. This is, again, it's just balsa wood cut up and just made to look like a shutter. Nothing special. But we're going to close those windows off. We have windows, and so this stuff is, if you've ever seen like a pen holder, you can get them at Dollarama. It's just mesh. I cut it out, then I took nail polish and I poured it on, and because I'm impatient, I peeled the mesh out of the nail polish kind of as it was setting, but it gave it a really there's something about the look that looked better than it just sitting there, because when it sits there it gets this really flat surface. I don't even know if this is making sense, but once you pour it on like an epoxy, once it sets, it sets. When I pulled it off, the nail polish wasn't fully cured, so some of it was left on the ground, and it conformed to the mesh, if that makes sense. So it made it more of like a window look. Maybe that makes no sense at all. Maybe I have to make a whole separate video for that, but hopefully it did. I am taking dirt out of the garden. This is part of what I love about the hobby, immortalizing things in diorama form. Here we're taking a mud effect, slapping it on. That's what's going to look like mud. It just makes things look great. And before the PVA dries, I'm going with the back of the brush to make puddles and track marks, and then I'm going to take flocking mixed with PVA to make moss, and I'm just going to hit you with a bunch of things here quick that I'm going to do. And so once that moss is on, I'm going to take this stuff. It's liquid talent. I know they say that about washes, but this is liquid talent for dioramas. It's like a streaking grime thing. Again, I'll link this stuff in the description. I'm not going to go over it like crazy, but I'm basically just putting it everywhere. Here, it's a leaf. Again, real life. Don't overthink it. I got this leaf punch for cheap at my local hobby store, and I'm just going to punch out some leaves. And once I punch out some leaves, I got some leaves. So I'm going to slap them on the diorama. Just anywhere. Dead leaves. Again, this town is grimy. It needs dead leaves. It can't look colorful and bright. Once that's done, we have to give the illusion that he's leaving town. So I make this little gate thing out of popsicle sticks and balsa wood. Nothing fancy. We're gonna put on this water effect. Again, liquid talent in a bottle. It's gonna make it look like there's puddles, and it's gonna make it look like it just rained without actually have just rained. Taking my wood burner here and just marring the surface, trying not to burn down the house, but this gives, I don't know, I just love this effect on different parts of the building. And once that's done, I went ahead and I printed up some other random junk, random other details to add to the building. See, I got a little cat there. I'm gonna paint that up. You won't see me paint it up, but I will paint it up, I promise. We're gonna get to the LEDs, the things that light up the windows. This I just got from Dollarama. No, nothing fancy. You're gonna see me here. I'm coloring the LEDs with an orange. I'm actually gonna end up changing that to more of a yellow because the windows looked like oranges. It was that orange. They looked very strange. And then I'm going to put my head in the way of me making this beautiful little tavern sign. Tavern. It's gonna be a tavern. Again, it's something we could have figured out on Patreon, but alas. Oh, once I cut that little sign out, I'm gonna hand paint it like Picasso and put my put a little bear on there. It's the bear tavern. Hang it up, and we got our tavern, because what is a tavern without a sign? Here's the you might have actually already, again, for the observant person, you might have already saw that cart. You might have already saw those people. And I just assembled them. I 3D printed them, assembled them. So we got our hero, our cart, our onlookers. One of those onlookers was never included, alas. Paint those up. You'll notice, again, in the beginning, our hero had a cloak on him. So something that a tinker has to have is a cloak. Will he be wearing the cloak in every single video? I don't know, but I had to green stuff him a cloak, especially because it was raining. So he got a cloak. Green stuff that up. We have to give him his little lantern. So again, little LEDs from Dollarama, nothing fancy. It's going to be the separate LED line for his lantern that you see. I'm going to really awkwardly, I actually ended up messing this up. I was a little irritated with myself. I didn't end up wiring it the way I wanted to, but again, I'm going to give my hand away so you can't see exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to light it up. Make sure that it works. Make sure that the LEDs work before gluing in the cart, before then covering up the LED line with glue. That's it's just important in general. Make sure your LEDs work before you really set them in place on any project. Once that's done, I'm slapping the cart in place, slapping the tinker in place, putting a black sheet on the side, painting the sides black, and here are the end results. Thank you for watching, guys, and remember to subscribe to see where our tinker ends up next. Until next time.